हाय। आज हम करेंगे साइकोलॉजी का चैप्टर 1 एचएससी का बहुत ही मज़ेदार तरीके से। 2-3 तरीके से मैं बनाऊंगा वीडियो और आपको कौन सा वाला तरीका पसंद आया मुझे वो बताइए। तो ये जो वीडियो है आज का, ये वीडियो होगा करीबन 30 मिनट का एंड इसमें ना हम एकदम सिस्टमैटिकली वर्ड टू वर्ड जाएंगे, ठीक है ना, ताकि आपका हर एक वर्ड क्लियर हो जाए। ठीक है, अब कितने पेजेस हैं देखते हैं। पेज नंबर 1 से लेके पेज नंबर 10 तक है, राइट, क्योंकि 11th पे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, है ना। तो हम करेंगे एक एक पेज बड़े ध्यान से, पूरा सिलेबस अच्छे से प्यार से हो जाएगा, ठीक है। तो पेज 1 में उन्होंने ये दिए हुए डिविजन्स की, पहला है इंट्रोडक्शन टू साइकोलॉजी। इट इज़ अ साइंटिफिक डिसिप्लिन, नॉट आर्ट वाला। की फीचर्स बता रहे हैं साइंस की, साइंस होता क्या है भाई। फिर हिस्ट्री ऑफ साइकोलॉजी दैट आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि लाइक व्हाट इज द हिस्ट्री ऑफ साइकोलॉजी। देन दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट रिसर्च मेथड्स, एक्सपेरिमेंटल, सर्वे मेथड, ऑब्जर्वेशन मेथड, केस स्टडी मेथड एंड कोरिलेशन मेथड, ओके। And then they are talking about the challenges in establishing psychology as a science. And last point is about something about rationality. What is rationalism? So these are very lively topics, you know. So the questions are: is psychology a science subject? Is it a common science or is it a pseudoscience? Psychologists are only mind readers or what? Or only crazy people need help for psychology? Okay, psychiatrists, psychologists are the same or what? Or even counselors, what do you do? Can a degree of psychology be sufficient for counseling? So these are the daily questions we are going to encounter in our life, you know. So they have given these questions to the thought process. Well, introduction. They're talking about what is science, and they say that science has 3 parts basically: physical sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, physics, chemistry, maths, and all that. Biological sciences, it is botany, zoology, physiology, anatomy. And social sciences. Social sciences is about psychology, sociology, economics, all stuff related to society and, you know, all these things. So psychology is a part of social sciences, right? Okay, now is psychology a science? Now first we should know what is science, and first we should know what is psychology, right? So the key features of science. What are the key features of science? There are 5. Now विवेक शुक्ला मेरा नाम है और याद रखिए, आई एम गिविंग यू दिस ट्रिक. Prose, PROSE is the key feature. P is predictability, R is replication, O is objectivity, S scientific cause and systematic exploration. Don't worry, I'll make you remember this, okay? And E is empirical evidence. Empirical means coming from lab experiments, you know, right? Okay, what is science? Scientia is a Latin word. It means knowledge, okay? So science is the pursuit of knowledge, right? Fine. Okay, now don't worry, how to write the questions, I have made another video. I will teach you how to make the answers, how to make the notes, and how to write in the exam, okay? And what will come in the exam from this part. Well, take it from me, this is a compulsory question in the board exams, okay? Now this is the first year of the exam, but I am telling you this will come. Fine. So predictability means that on the basis of your theories, can you predict the next step, the next part of the phenomenon, right? Replication. Now when you're using a scientific tool, it should be able to give the same results under same circumstances anywhere else, any other time. So if there's a test, you're making a test and you're able to replicate the same results always, no, then it is a proper science. Example, I'll give you the example of bad thing which is not replicable. That is aptitude tests, you know, these 500 rupees, 1000, now they're charging more also to make it authentic, you know. See, by charging more money, you know, you cannot make a test authentic. So don't fall for this aptitude test and all the stuff, you know. भविष्य में बताएंगे, career बताएंगे. No, they are not replicable. Every day you give the test, they give you different results. So replication is about same results in different time under the same lab conditions or circumstances, right? O, objectively. Don't have your biased opinion, prejudiced belief. You have to objectively, specifically, think about the topic, right? Now, next is S. S is two things: scientific cause, relation, effect, causality. Okay, the spelling is very important. It is not casualty. Don't take it casually. Causality, cause effect is like music causing BP, blood pressure. Does music cause blood pressure, increase blood pressure or decrease? So here independent variable is music, and the dependent variable is blood pressure, because blood pressure is dependent on music, right? So if the researcher wants to check this, the researcher also wants to know, is music the cause? Maybe music he finds is leads to increase of BP, but is music the only cause of it? Is it the real cause, or is it just one of the causes, or it is just a relation? A boy and a girl in the same class, maybe friends, maybe colleagues, maybe fiance or whatever. So you have to have the cause relation effect. Next, systematic explanation. There's a method, sequence has to be followed. Okay, first is identifying the problem, then making a hypothesis, then collecting data, and then generalizing. This will come in the next chapter again. Fine. And E is empirical evidence, evidence based on experiments, data collected from experiments. So this is the science is based on verifiable evidence, which is come from experiments. Science is experimentation, right? So this way we have finished 2 pages, right? And these are the prominent parts. Next, we have finished 2 parts rather. 1.2 is finished. Now, psychology is a science because it fulfills many conditions of science. Yes, it is not an exact science like physics, chemistry. It is a social science that studies human behavior, animal behavior, and mental processes, thinking, and all those things, right? It uses objective research methods to examine cause-related. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Now, psychology is not a pseudoscience and can be distinguished, fine, okay, from folk wisdom and psychology. Now, the subject matter of psychology here is a main issue. Our subject matter is human behavior, which is very dynamic and complex. Okay, mental processes cannot be seen; they're abstract. Therefore, the theories of psychology are not universal, exact and precise as compared to physics and chemistry. The rules cannot be specific because the brain is so complex. Yeah, you know that. Well, now a very interesting part of psychology. Now guys, if you do this history of psychology easily, you'll be able to do all your psychology very easy. First thing, psychology begins as a part of philosophy. In 1879 something happens, some tests are conducted. Then they are talking about the different fields of psychology: structuralism, functionalism, psychoanalysis, behavioralism, humanistic, and cognitive. Okay, so these 8 points are there, and we'll do it in detail. Now, as a branch of philosophy, this was given by the old Greek people, Socrates and all that. So they said it is a branch of philosophy. But next, in 1879, right, what happened was Wilhelm Wundt, he is in Germany, he was a psychologist. He established the first lab, and it was at University of Leipzig. So here he conducted small experiments. So this is the official, the start of psychology. Okay, so now therefore he's the father of psychology. Okay, now structuralism. Some people say that conscious study of the conscious mind and conscious experiences like sensation, perceptions, is the way to study psychology. So William Wundt and there was his student Titchener, right? They believed in structuralism. That structuralism is a concept, is a thought. Don't worry, you will study in detail in the next chapters. Okay. Well, functionalism. So others say no, functionalism is important. So William James was the person, and he was the father of not of psychology but American psychology, because like he made the first study course in USA, no, right? So he emphasized on human consciousness. It was same as consciousness, but here they focus on structure. Here it is functionalism, right? Now, then comes psychoanalysis. Mr. Sigmund Freud, he's a very famous person, and he says that subconscious level is more important, not conscious, but when you're sleeping and dreaming, that subconscious level is called psychoanalysis. His theory was there. He had a theory of psychoanalysis. You can analyze the psycho of a person, the brain of a person. Psycho means brain, right? So the mind, by analyzing the dreams and the thoughts unconsciously. So your unconscious mind is more important. Next, behavioralism. Some people say that who was the person? Watson, right? They say, okay, the conscious and unconscious is not important. Okay, they reject it, and they say that whatever you can observe the behavior, your friends come in a college and you observe their behavior. You can understand the person by the behavior, not conscious and unconscious mind. So this is in contrast with what William James is saying and what Sigmund Freud is saying, right? Now we have one more approach, that is humanistic. Be human, being human sort of thing. So here Carl Rogers, he's from America, and he says that we have a free will. We have a free will to grow. Everybody wants to grow ahead. Everybody wants the power of self-determination. So I'm so sorry. And everybody wants to realize who they are. So you give them a chance to grow, and everybody will grow. So you are what you can, and not what you wear, right? So this is very interesting. Next, cognitivism. Now, in the modern times, psychology is studied by using model tools like MRI, magnetic resonance machines, and PET. These are the tools used for checking your brain. That brain is a part of biology. Psychology is a part of biology. So, American scientist Ulrich Neisser is considered the founder of cognitivism. Okay, so here they say that the processes like what is cognitive? Okay, cognitive means anything related with your brain. So recognition is the word, no? Recognition, memory, thinking power, problem solving, intelligence, language. These things can be checked by scientific tools. Okay, so the 8 points are: first, began as a part of psychology, began as a part of philosophy. Second is a separate discipline in 1879. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth are different theories. First is structuralism, William Wundt and Titchener. Functionalism is by William James. Psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud. Behaviorism, John Watson. Humanistic, Carl Rogers, right? And cognitivism is Ulrich Neisser. And don't worry about by hearting this. I'll make it easy for you. In the next chapters, it will come easy for you. Don't worry at all. Okay, fine. Now we come to research methods, and then we will be going to and doing this importance. The challenges in psychology, right? Now let us start with challenges in psychology first, because this is linked with the key features of science. Now they say that this objectivity, validity, predictability, replicability, remember these words, pros, are very hard. There are issues related to objectivity, predictability, and replicability. Okay, so like some personality, leadership, these things cannot be judged by surveys, right? Similarly, it is very hard in psychology to predict human nature. Fine. So because human behavior is very difficult to study than studying chemicals and properties, physics, chemistry. So it is very hard. Next, objectifying. Sometimes it is like, okay, you're conducting experiments on human beings. So are you not treating human beings like objects? This is a challenge. Next, a major point here is pre-paradigmatism. Pre-paradigmatism. Pre-paradigmatism, they say that as compared to physics and chemistry, psychology is a younger science, and Kuhn, Thomas Kuhn, he says that we are psychology is still in the pre-paradigmatic, not yet matured stage. There is not a clear conceptual core. Okay, so this is the major issue with psychology, he's saying. Fine. Why I made you do this? Because this is very important part, that you understand that features and challenges are compulsory questions in the exams also. Yeah, you have to think of the exam also, right? You should. Now, that brings us to two more. Now, research methods. Now, I will do the research methods in detail. First is experimental method. So, in experimental method, what they do, they identify a problem, number one. Then they develop a hypothesis. Okay, what can be the reason for that? What can be the reason for, okay, what is the probable theory? So, suppose they see something, a phenomenon, a natural phenomenon, and they identify the problem. Okay, this is the problem, maybe this is the reason, right? Then they will, to check that reason, check their own thinking, they will select an experimental method, a design, and standardize the experimental procedure. Okay. Now, next they will conduct the experiment, and then you will collect data based on the experiment, right? You make the conduct the experiment, and you when you conduct the experiment, you collect some data, information, and then next step is you analyze the data. What is the result? Is the pattern seen? Do you see a pattern or something? Like, coronavirus, the problem, the hypothesis, okay, it's by the virus. And then you analyze the data, okay, the numbers of coronavirus are increasing, decreasing, right? That way. And then you draw conclusions. Okay, coronavirus is spread through the air and all that, right? So here, see the key terms again. There's a problem, there's a hypothesis. Now there are variables, independent variable, dependent variable, right? We've done it later. There is also something called intervening variables. Okay, and there is an experimenter and participant. So let me do this, because exam point of view also this is very important, and they ask you these small little questions. Experimenter, a person who you will be who conducts the experiment is called experimenter. Okay, so a person who conducts the experiment is called an experimenter. Now, participant, a person on whom the experiment is conducted is called a participant. Very clear? Experimenter and participant. So you can call the participant sample or whatever in science language, Well, so this is very important. These two questions are very, very common, right? So I hope this year they will, I'm sure they will be asking these questions. Now, the key terms of experimental method. Problem. What is the problem? What is the meaning of problem? To study the effect of, this is the example they have given. Let us study the effect of music on level of blood pressure, right? So then they make a hypothesis. Okay, the music will regulate the blood pressure. Somebody says, and somebody says it will not. Well, so a scientist is saying the music will regulate the blood pressure. So we will keep that hypothesis. We want to make it a law, but we will have to check it out. So what do? We put an independent variable. Independent is not depending on anybody else. So it is music, right? So music is the variable because it is not depending on anything else. Then you have the dependent variable. In the experiment, dependent variable is the level of blood pressure. So blood pressure is dependent on music, right? So then you have two variables, and then you have intervening variables which will affect. These are the variables which will affect music and blood pressure relation. So age, younger people love more music. Maybe older people, maybe they don't listen to more music. Maybe this is a thought process. We have to check it out. Gender, women, men. Do women love music more, or men love music more? That may be an intervening variable. Okay. Then all other sounds except other than music. So you may be having the car honking, and the building construction, and so many sounds you hear the whole day, right? So are they irresponsible? Are they intervening? Are they interfering in this music and blood pressure relationship? So in this way you can check there are so many types of intervening variables, right? So these are the four topics. Very easy, right? And then you have experimenter and participant, right? So we have done this. Now some important features of experimental methods. There are 4 features given. Experimental method is one of the most objective methods of collecting data. Yes, so you're conducting experiment, and this is a very objective method. You're collecting data also. Then it enables accurate observations in controlled conditions. So the conditions are controlled in the control of the experimenter, right? And the observations are very accurate. Next, experimental helps in finding out the cause and effect relationship, right, between the two variables. Fine. So there are 2 variables, and it helps find the cause and relationship. Next, the findings of the experimental method are verifiable. You can verify, you can check, all those things. No, replicability, wala thing. Yes. So you can verify the experiments and the results, right? Fine. Now there are also certain aspects cannot be studied by experimental due to ethical and risk involved. There are so many parts of the human brain and human behavior which cannot be done. Okay. Now they have given you some questions to study the effect of practice on memory. Practicing studies on memory. So what is the independent variable here? Yes, it is practice. And what is the dependent? Memory, right? Obviously, because memory depends on practice. Similarly, can you do this? Study the effect of mental set on problem solving. Mental set